Welcome to the Ron Jaworski Show, and of course, as you can tell, we are coming to you live from O'Reilly's Pub at the Valleybrook Country Club in beautiful Gloucester Township, New Jersey. And of course, tonight's show is presented by Bradford White Water Heaters. Thanks to Carl Pinto and all the fine folks over at Bradford White Water Heaters, built to be the very best. And a special thanks to all my friends at Miller Lite, Mark Kramer, Brendan Dalton, and the wonderful staff over at Kramer Beverage. And I've got to take a deep breath. This has been a rough few days here in Philadelphia. Before I bring my special guests on tonight, I'll have AJ Hawk, former Green Bay Packer, will be joining me in just a moment. Brian Baldinger will be checking in just a moment. He's down in Florida. Wouldn't be a bad place to be right about now. And joining me here live on the set is Coffee Jones. And Coffee is been my assistant for 7 years. He watches tape with me. He does my analytics. He does my research. And I need all the people. I'm reaching out to everybody to give me help. Coffee, good to have you with us, my friend.
It's great to be here, Jaws. I wish the season was going a little better.
Yeah, we always was going a little better. But Coffee, I give him a lot of tough assignments. But I said, Coffee, we need some analytics on this. We got to figure this out somehow, some way. I'm getting tired of talking about bad football. How can we help this team? So we'll get to some stats in a few minutes that will kind of paint a picture of what may be wrong with this Eagle football team, what may be wrong with Carson Wentz, and maybe maybe a statistical profile will give us some answers. But before we get to that, I'll give Coffee a minute to digest all the stats we're going to throw at you, and some are pertinent, of course. Sometimes stats are not. But we're going to hear live from AJ Hawk, former Green Bay Packer linebacker. They're part of their Super Bowl championship team, an All-American at Ohio State, played 14 years in the National Football League, has his own podcast called The Hawkcast. And, hey, AJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be with you. Glad to join you.
Yeah, good. And good luck with that podcast, man. Glad things are going well, and our paths have crossed many, many times. But maybe first and foremost, if you're a Green Bay Packer right now, if you're playing a linebacker on that defense, you got Dom Capers, maybe your Bob Sanders is your defensive coordinator, the guys that coached you up, and you're watching this Eagle tape and you're seeing a quarterback that right now is just struggling to find his rhythm on the offense that started Monday night's game with 5 3-and-outs. What are you thinking? What are you looking at when you're looking at that tape, and what's going through your mind?
Well, I think one of the first things that goes through your mind if you're sitting in the Packers meeting rooms this week is like, hey, let's not be the one that lets them get back on track. Like, we don't want to be the defense that Carson Wentz gets to feel real comfortable with and kind of build some momentum and can kind of get in a good rhythm. So I think early on you definitely want to start out thinking about pressuring them, and everyone always says that. Yeah, you want to stop the run, get pressure on the quarterback. Yeah, of course. It's great to say, but in theory it sounds good, but it's tough to do a lot of times in the NFL. But I think the Packers defense, they probably feel pretty good about their chances against the Eagles coming up.
Yeah. When I look at teams, and I've been in this business for a long time, AJ, and I sometimes wonder from a defensive perspective. Most of the guys I hung out with are offensive guys. We got our own way that we look at the game. And when you see a quarterback that's struggling, and actually, when you look at Carson, as I look at the tape, the majority of his interceptions have come against zone coverage. Not man. It's been zone coverage with those eyes peering in the backfield. From a defensive perspective, when you're breaking a quarterback down, does that dictate to you how you're going to play your coverage schemes?
Oh, absolutely. You definitely want to know, like, okay, what's this quarterback likely to do when we're matched up? Say it's short, third, and medium, and a lot of teams will match up then, and usually you can get away with playing some zone and first and second down more, I guess. But yeah, I think especially if you're a team that runs a lot of zone coverage, like you said, eyes on the quarterback, like your whole job, especially as an underneath defender, if you're one of those linebacker or a guy in the curl of the flat, is to read the quarterback's eyes, and you break like as he's pulling his left hand off the ball to start his throwing motion, you got to be breaking downhill on that ball wherever it's headed. And I think sometimes, when you're a quarterback, if you're a split second late, Jaws, like I say all the time, playing quarterback in the NFL is the toughest job in all of professional sports. Like, I just can't imagine playing that position, how fast everything comes at you and all the different complex looks you get. So I think defensively, though, yeah, you want to get a jump, read his eyes, and also try to fool him, maybe try to bait him into a few passes. I was just watching the Steelers game, Joe Hayden with the pick six. It was absolutely masterful how he sat there and kind of baited RG3 and took that thing to the house. It was a good thing to watch.
So many times as I break down quarterbacks and watch games on TV and just casually, I always use the term eye manipulation. And from a defensive perspective, hey, from playing 17 years, I know what you guys are taught. I know what you're thinking. And the last thing I can do is stare down a receiver. And I use that term eye manipulation. If I know I want to throw a dig to my right side, man, I better be looking left because I know that linebacker buzzing that curl zone, man. He's just gonna be looking at me. And just like you said, when my left hand comes off that ball, he's looking to get a jump on the ball. When you're in man coverage, what difference does that make when you can't look in the backfield?
Oh, it's so different as a defender, I guess. And I think if you talk to, the corners, a lot of corners want to be the lockdown guy to say, hey, put me on their best receiver. I'll take them out all night. But a lot of the underneath defenders, they love playing zone because you have your eyes on the quarterback and you can break on anything. And I think that's when you get a lot of turnovers too. But when you're matched up, like say you're matched up on a tight end and say it's 3rd and 7, and you're thinking, all right, well, I gotta play the sticks, but I gotta turn and run because this guy might be Vernon Davis. When I was playing, he's running a 4.3 right past me up the hash. So you got a lot to think about. And you got to kind of you don't have to. You have to obviously play fast and sudden, but you can't panic and you can't just be waiting on every single move. You got to be patient and kind of read what the receiver or tight end is going to do. But also you got to watch throughout the week and kind of get a feel on how they run their routes and how deep they run them and all of those things.
From your experience of being an NFL linebacker for as long as you were, did you ever have a preference that you'd like to play a running team, a passing team, or a balanced team? Was there a preference that you had?
You know what? A balanced. I never really thought of it like that, but playing a balanced team was always usually the most fun, I think, with the linebacker position because you want to get in there and you want to have plenty of opportunities to get physical and come downhill and blow up a fullback or peel off a pulling guard or something and make some tackles in the backfield. But then you want the opportunity to make some plays in the passing game too. And I think, like I said earlier, if you're playing zone coverage and you have your eyes on the ball and you can get a good 4-man rush, you're going to get a lot of tips and overthrows that will benefit you and get you some turnovers defensively. So I'd say a balanced attack is probably the most enjoyable for the linebacker position to face.
Yeah, my guest on the Ron Jaworski show here tonight is AJ Hawk, a former Green Bay Packer linebacker. And I gave you kind of a leading question there, AJ, to be honest with you, because when as my guy Coffee Jones and does all the analytics and breakdowns for me, the number that we came up with for the Eagle was drop back 68% of the time. That means 32% run. That's 4th most passing in the NFL. Then I compare that to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, where they are 59% pass and 41% run. That's probably closer to NFL balance right now, that 60-40 ratio. And what's surprising to me, and probably the most people that listen to this show and the people in Philadelphia right now, there's a pretty good running back in that backfield by the name of Miles Sanders, who's averaging about 5.7, just maybe under 5.7 per carry. When you have a back that has, that kind of yards per carry average, are you saying thank you for not giving him the ball?
Absolutely, yeah. He's saying, hey, we know how good this guy is, and we don't mind that you, for some reason, are limiting his carries. But you also, I was lucky enough, too. I was in Green Bay for 9 years, and I was lucky enough to play with a lot of leads. So teams actually are forced to throw on you when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, and all of a sudden you look up and it's 21-zip in the first quarter. Your game plan changes a little bit on the other side.
Tell me something that I don't know about Aaron Rodgers.
Wow, that's a great one. Wow, so I do a show with Pat McAfee every day now. We have Aaron on every Tuesday, and he's been on for about 45 minutes every Tuesday, and it's been fun. He seems really happy and just enjoying where he's at. And he's been really open and honest. But I'd say, if he didn't, I don't know. It's tough to say. I've been around him forever and know him, but I think people wouldn't be shocked to know that he is so smart, and he's on his elite level. Pretty much anything he does, he'll sit there and love to play Sudoku. He'll sit there for 2 hours on a trip or something, just playing Sudoku and weird intellectual things like that. He's probably a really good chess player. I don't know, but yeah, he's one of those guys that he's always competing, and he's always thinking. Like, he's always asking questions, always curious, and it's usually not about football. It's usually about weird things going on in the world.
Yeah, I've been on the golf course, Aaron. I know he's a pretty golfer and a fierce competitor, and it comes out on the golf course. So, but he is such. People talk about Patrick Mahomes and the arm angles and all the things he does at the line of scrimmage. I keep telling people, Aaron was doing this about a dozen years ago. I mean, he was doing all that stuff and all the play calling, directing all the motions, just checking out of everything. He was, I mean, I think Brett Favre probably taught him some of those arm angles because Brett used to drive me crazy because I've always been kind of a wonk for perfect mechanics, and I think it was important. Mm-hmm. But then I used to watch Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, and I'm going, yeah, help mechanics. He's just got incredible talent, So how was Aaron on the practice field? Was he kind of a jovial guy, or was he just a fierce competitor on the practice field?
He was both, actually. It was a lot of fun to go up against. So my first 2 years in Green Bay, Favre was our starter. So Aaron was the scout team quarterback, and he was just lighting us up at times, that's for sure. Like, we knew how good he was early on before he ever really got to play any meaningful action. But he was super competitive, and he's one of those guys that loves to talk to, loves to yell at the defense and then yell at the defensive coordinator, yell at the DB coach. Like, he has a good relationship with the whole staff. So he's one of those competitive guys, like letting them know it's going to be a long day for the DBs or linebackers or D-line, whatever they got going on. So it's actually, he makes it a lot of fun because it may be some of the dog days, the tough days usually for practice were Wednesday and Thursday where you'd hit a good amount and really have 2.5 hour practice. I don't think that happens a whole lot anymore, but it was always good. It was always fun to compete against a guy like that. And then as he grew in and became a starter, yeah, we're going ones-on-ones. You always have competitive 2-minute drills and stuff during practice. And, man, he did not want to lose. And if you got an interception off of him, you better go run him straight over or get out of there because he's going to be mad. He's going to be looking for you.
I'm going to throw some numbers at you because I got Coffee Jones here and I put on work all the time. And we broke down the Seahawks game between the Eagles and the Sunday night game when the Green Bay played the Chicago Bears. And when you look at Wentz's numbers against the Seahawks, when there was no pressure on him, the numbers were good. 66% complete, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a quarterback rating of 86.2. Now, Carson, under pressure on Monday night, was only 3 for 12, 25% complete, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 44 passer rating. Now, when you look at the Chicago game then with Aaron Rodgers, when he was under pressure, and I think this is where quarterbacks are separated, dealing with people in your face, dealing with pressure, having to throw from a different arm angle, having to reset in the pocket. Rodgers under pressure against the Bears was 6 of 7, 94 yards, that's 85% complete by my math, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. So you're over, almost 150, or 100 points better, 110 points better in the passer rating under pressure was Aaron Rodgers than Carson Wentz. So you as a linebacker, you guys get all these stats, you get all these analytics, and when you know the quarterback doesn't deal with pressure well, what does that tell you?
Well, I think, if you're talking about Aaron, when you play well under pressure, I think it's because the guy is 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of everybody else in the field. Like, even if he doesn't recognize the pressure pre-snap, he's going to know the second that ball is snapped, and he knows exactly where his hot is. And at the same time, his receivers are on the same page. They need to know, hey, I just saw the blitz. I got a second. I got to sit down in this little spot. I got to give my quarterback a target. So I think it all works together. And another thing that Aaron does too, though, if you watch, same thing Patrick Mahomes does. That little subtle backpedal to kind of just buy time, and then they have the arm strength and the talent to just sling a thing 60 yards on a rope, sidearm while they're backpedaling. I know a lot of guys can't do that, so it'd probably be hard to teach some young kids at a Elite 11 camp. Hey, you can't. We all don't have an arm that God blessed us with like these guys, so we have to have some fundamentals, like you said earlier. But if you're a defense, you're going against a guy that doesn't like pressure. What are you going to do? I'm going to try to get as much pressure as I can, but also, you got to figure out where your pressure is coming from. Which way does he like to flush? And obviously, if you're a right-hander, you want to flush him to his left and make him throw across his body, and just try to make him uncomfortable. And some quarterbacks don't do well with pressure in their face, whether you don't have to get sacks or not, but just not letting them step up and step into a throw and really feel comfortable. So once you break all that down, then you can rely on your D coordinator, hopefully, to dial up some good blitzes so that where that quarterback gets real uncomfortable early in the game and he never really gets to settle in.
Yeah, and I imagine when you used to sit in those meetings and, either Dom Capers or one of those guys gets up to the board, they would pretty much have those, those clips of how a quarterback would move, when there is pressure. Like you said, you want him to move away from his arm strength. If he's right-handed, go left. If he's left-handed, go right. And you pretty much have some sort of log on what the guy likes to do. And if you're an Aaron Rodgers type player, you would probably be less likely to blitz because they get the ball out of their hand and they read it quickly.
Absolutely, and it gets so frustrating. I think. I mean, I watched it firsthand. When the offense would be out there when I was playing there, I would watch teams like you watch defense just get deflated because it's like, all right, what are we going to throw at this guy? Like every time we try to dial something up, it's like he almost knew what we were bringing before it came, and he's going to get rid of it so quick and just. It's going to be a dagger. And then if you try to drop 8 on him and rush 3, like, good luck. When Aaron just keeps his eyes downfield and he's just kind of bouncing around the pocket, his receivers know where to go, and he can put the ball where only his guy can get it. So sometimes, with a guy like Aaron, it's like, I don't know. Let's just hope he had an off day. Let's hope he doesn't feel good today or something, because when he's kind of hitting on all cylinders, it's honestly, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop him.
As I look forward to this Packer-Eagle game on Sunday, the one thing I do notice about Aaron, I've noticed through the years, he almost loves running himself against man-to-man coverage. And, by the way, Eagles played against the Seahawks 77% man on Monday night. So Aaron I always thought had a unique ability to recognize man coverage. Defenders, linebackers, their backs turn to the quarterback. I mean, he was just all his eyes, and one thing, quarterbacks are never coached to look down, but he had a unique ability to actually see those lanes, see those holes when he knew that there was man-to-man coverage. So would you say that when this Eagle defense looks at the tape, they better be real careful about playing all this man against Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I would be. I'd be scared showing my back to him, a whole lot. If I did play a decent amount of man, I guess you could try to spy him, but the spy is tough. You can get picked off pretty easily. You have to change how you rush, really, when you're playing a guy like Aaron, because how he can move and get out of the pocket, but also his cadence. His cadence is an absolute weapon. So guys are already a little bit almost gun-shy. They're not going to have a crazy get-off because it seems like every single time you watch the Packers play that he gets it every team a few times. And a lot of times he's gonna put one up to Devontae or someone else, and it's gonna be a huge gainer. So your whole rush pattern and everything, like your mentality changes, and you have to find a way to still let it loose and try to get after him, but not let him mess with you in the mind games and the cadence. There's just a lot to handle when you're playing a guy like Aaron.
Yeah. I actually thought the Eagles' defense, had a real solid game by their front four on Monday night because, hey, it was Russell Wilson. For most of the season, he's been, him and Aaron and Mahomes and have been just phenomenal all season long. But he's one of those guys, if you have a breakdown in your mush rush and your discipline, he's going to break the pocket and beat you. So, I think Aaron probably looks at his defense now and goes, yeah, they may be playing man, but I'm not getting many lanes because that defensive front four plays with discipline. Will that and is that a key when you play man-to-man behind the pass rush?
It's gigantic. Yeah, when the quarterback can move at all. The four-man rush, and like you mentioned, like the mush rush, and that's something whenever we would face like really athletic quarterbacks, it's a weird thing where your D-line, you still have to rush to get after the quarterback, but this mush rush, all right, make sure your ends never get past the quarterback and don't create these big inverted lanes to where he can pull it down and run. Try to create a wall and just slowly collapse that pocket around him. It's tough to do at times, and also limits you too. You're not going to run a whole lot of games and stunts with your front four when you're worried about trying to always contain a guy like that. But I think that's absolutely the key for the Eagles. Not only do they need to be stout against the run, but those front four, it'll be a huge factor in how well that Green Bay offense can do. Because the front four, if they can find a way to bottle them up, and we've seen the Eagles defense, they stand up at times. They haven't had a ton of help offensively, but they can play well. We know that. So I think it all runs through that front four, and I think Green Bay is obviously going to want to try to have a balanced attack too. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what what plays out. It's hard to ever predict anything, I feel like, this year in the NFL. I never know from week to week who's good and who's bad.
You know, you mentioned this has been just a bizarre year with the pandemic and COVID-19 and guys opting out and guys not playing and, you know, being put off the roster because of COVID. But, you know, I probably one good thing, at least from my personal perspective, that has come out of this for an education of the football fan is with no fans in the stands, you really can hear the chess game between a quarterback and did you ever call plays with the Packers, call defenses and have to play that mind game with a quarterback? Because you can hear it going back and forth with these mics that pick everything up.
Yeah, I wore the speaker in my helmet for a big chunk of my career and called the defense and set the front and did everything like that and made adjustments. Yeah, it is a mind game because a lot of times, you know, the defense, you'll set your defense and then you may have a plan like, okay, hey, in these couple calls, if they make this certain check, hey, we're checking to this now. We're going to try to, you know, one up them, and then all of a sudden you play a guy like Aaron or, you know, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning back in the day. Those guys are going to check back, and then do we go back? Do we have time? So yeah, there's always a chess match going on. But I'm with you. I think not only do we get to hear the hits more, like you can hear those easier without the crowd, but we get to hear all the cadence is perfect. You can hear the O line identifying the mic. You can hear all kind of stuff, and I think it is. I think. Like I watch and I learn stuff every single time I watch a game, whether it's a TV copy or the coach's tape. Like I still learn so much because I feel like the game just changes. It's always fun, I guess, to try to figure out what teams are doing.
It's awesome. And AJ, I really want to thank you for your efforts on behalf of Hawks Locks for Kids. You raise money for kids who lose their hair due to chemotherapy. So keep up that great work. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show. And I hope our paths will cross soon down the road. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, Charles.
All right. AJ Hawk joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show. And we'll go to a break. And after the break, Coffee Jones and I will be back with Brian Baldinger. I know he's all fired up down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We'll be right back.
This is the Ron Jaworski Show. Live.
Your wedding might look a little different than you first imagined, but that doesn't mean it can't be the most memorable day of your life. At Ron Jaworski Weddings, our 5 award-winning wedding venues are open, and we're meeting with couples daily, both in person by appointment or virtually with tours and video conferences. Voted the best of the knot and Wedding Wire 11 years in a row. See all we can do to make your day special at ronjaworskiweddings.com.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Hut, hut.
This is Ron Jaworski. I want to invite everyone to rediscover the excellence and diversity of my 6 championship golf courses. You know what first attracted me to the game of golf? It's the precision it requires at every level. At Ron Jaworski Golf, everything we do centers around you. It's the small touches that make golf so special. That's what drew me in years ago and forever shapes the way I feel about the game. Come enjoy our amazing signature golf courses or go to ronjaworskigolf.com.
Hut, hut.
Miller Lite from my friends over at Miller Lite Kramer Beverage. Good to have everyone in the house. Got Coffee Jones, my stat guy. Does all my hard work, does the analytics, the research, and I just come here and run my mouth and give you all these great numbers that we gather by looking at the tape. I want to thank AJ Hawk for joining me on the first segment of the show. Gave us some really good insight to the National Football League and how to play against quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz. So it'll be fun on Sunday in Green Bay. I'm also going to be joined now by this guy, man. I just love talking to Baldy. I just love talking to Brian Baldinger. Reading his stuff, seeing his stuff this week, breaking down Carson Wentz. Him and I look at the tape. They lead us to our topic, so it's always great when I can get Baldy on the phone. He always comes out live because he loves the food and he loves the beer. But we got him down in Fort Lauderdale. Where Baldy, welcome, and I hope the weather's a little nicer than here is in South Jersey and Philadelphia.
Hey, it is, Jaws. I mean, the Floridians are a little annoyed. It's 68 degrees.
Oh, terrible day.
It's below 70. It's below 70 tonight, so they've got their fur coats on right now. But I'm not complaining here, Jaws, at all.
No, don't. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. We got the heavy outer gear on for today's wind and cool weather.
Yep.
Baldy, before we get to Carson Wentz, I know you spent a lot of time studying him this week, as did I. We'll have some comments on that. But I'm going to talk, first of all, about this Eagle defense. It was interesting having AJ Hawk and how defenses react with man or zone and how they view quarterbacks, and they love to play zone, look in the backfield, yada, yada, yada. But here's an interesting number. The Eagles defense Monday night against Seattle played 77% man-to-man coverage. I mean, that is a very, very high percentage of man. Now, I'm going to throw this back at the guy they're playing against Sunday, Aaron Rodgers. And our breakdown of Aaron Rodgers against man-to-man defense. He is 67% complete. He has thrown, this is scary to me, 25 touchdown passes and only 2 interceptions against teams that play him man-to-man. Would you recommend the Eagles play man-to-man defense as much as they did against Aaron Rodgers as they did against our buddy Mr. Russell Wilson against Seattle? What would you recommend?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Jaws, in watching Aaron Rodgers, especially what he did to the Chicago Bears, who are largely a zone defense, I don't think it makes a difference right now. I think he's playing the best football he has played since his MVP season of 2011. But I'll say this, the Eagles went out and paid a big price to go get Darius Slay Jr. to be able to play man-to-man against, the best receivers like the DK Metcalf, like they'll see, and Devontae Adams. He's had a lot of good battles with Devontae over the years when he's been in Detroit. And so that's what led him to that 77% number. But if DK is basically eating him alive, and even Slay, admitted it was the worst game he's ever played, then I think you have to recognize the Jaws, and you have to say, all right, this was our game plan. This is why we got number 24, but it's not working against DK Metcalf. Let's go to another, let's do something else here. And so, I respect Jim Schwartz, but I think in that situation, they just stayed with that too long.
Yeah, Baldy, I don't want to be one of these guys, after the fact, and access to the results. We all know what should have been done. Schwartzy didn't do it, in the game on Monday night, and obviously we know the raw stats. Metcalf catches 10 for $177. One catch was against Coleman, and once against Riley when they were a couple times in the zone. Man to man, 8 catches. 8 catches on Darius Slay, 7 for first downs, 158 yards. Now there are 2 schools of thought when you play against a great wide receiver. One is, and this is kind of the Belichick rule, you take your second best corner and you give him help. and then you take your best corner and shut down their second best receiver. So I'm not saying Schwartzy's right or wrong. It's easy to say now, well, hey, Slay got toasted. But, you go into a game with a game plan. They didn't adjust during the game. But there are two schools of thought. Do you have any idea what you would do against a guy like, hey, you're going to see great receivers from Green Bay like we saw Metcalf on Monday night?
Well, I mean, look, the big play that hurt him, Jaws, was 0-0 in the second quarter. When Metcalf caught that 52-yarder, it got him down to the 1 yard line. They scored, to kind of break the game open a little bit. But on that play, the safety's just sitting there, like, basically in
zero coverage. It's a zero coverage, yeah.
Yeah, zero coverage. So, but he's got no work. There's nobody coming at him. I just don't even know why, like, McLeod wouldn't at least, help him in that situation. He's playing the upfield shoulder the way he's taught to do it, but you can see that Metcalf just, he ran away from him. And so once you see that, you go, man, this guy has this, we know he has that ability. There's only a couple guys in this league at that position that can take a game over, and he's one of them. And so when you see that, you kind of go to what you thought, Jaws, like, we have seen that a lot. Put your, cloud your, the number one guy and put your cover corner on the number two guy, Tyler Lockett. Let him shut him down and try to cloud the big guy. And so it might be a formula because Devontae Adams is playing the best, as good as he's ever played, and he's elite with his route running and the way Aaron Rodgers looks at him. But the way they're spreading the ball around right now in Green Bay, I don't know that it's going to make a difference, Charles.
Oh, and by the way, they are 10th in rushing. Green Bay is. They are 10th in yards per rush, so they have a balanced offense. They have solid equilibrium, which has been my contention all season long with this Eagle football team. 67% pass.
They have a strong Eagle connection there, Jaws. John Runyon is playing left guard.
There you go. Like John Runyon's son. That's right. Yep. You'll see a Runyon out there on Sunday at that 4:30 game or 4:20 game, whatever that kickoff is. But Baldy, I've been harping on this. It's my belief, my football philosophy. Hey, we all have different ideas of how things should be run, but I'm just a big believer that if you run the ball effectively, and in fact, if you look at Green Bay, they're about 60-40 pass to run. The Eagles are a little bit off kilter right now with too much of a passing game, especially with the issues they've had at the offensive line. I think it's a lot easier to mask deficiencies running the football than it is throwing the football. But to push it to this game, and I always think the run sets up the play-action passing. Linebackers have to defend it, as AJ Hawk says. They got to get nosy. Your safety's got to get nosy to make tackles. So then you compare the quarterbacks, which probably isn't fair for this game the way Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz are playing. But in the play-action passing game, and Baldy, this is why I keep Coffee Jones around, because he does all this analytical work for me. He's laughing. Yeah, he does a lot of great work for me. He takes we get a lot more done when he's taking notes, and I'm just talking because I talk fast. And I can't write and talk at the same time, Baldy. So I don't get enough done. But here is Aaron Rodgers using play action. By the way, he's number one in the NFL with a quarterback rating of 135.9, which is damn ridiculous number. Number one. Then you drop down Carson Wentz, who doesn't have the advantage of a consistent running game, at least called runs, is ranked number 39. I know you're saying there's only 32 teams.
32 starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, 30. So there are 7 backup quarterbacks or guys playing now that are ranked higher. So in the play-action passing game, you got Aaron Rodgers with a quarterback rank of 135.9, and Carson Wentz with a quarterback rating of 68.4. Ranked 39th in the league using play action. And just to give you a little bit of a flavor of how I believe Carson's fallen off, you go back to 2017, his QBR in play action was 95.3. So he's obviously, you don't need numbers to tell you that, but you can see how his performance has dropped using play action. And I think a lot of that is because they abandoned the running game too soon. 9 rushes to running backs Monday night in a game that wasn't a 28-0 blowout. So it's just frustrating. What did you see on the tape?
Look, Jaws, the opening drive, that Seattle, they jump offside, so it's 1st and 5. And, you think, okay, we can run the ball 3 times. You got Jason Peters in at right guard. Run the ball 3 times, get a first down. They come out, throw it 3 times, It's 3 incompletions. Carson's late with the ball on a couple occasions, and you're punting. I mean, you're not gonna throw a lot of play action passes, Jaws, if you basically punt the first 5 times you have the ball, and you're falling behind like the way they are. They got it. And look, I mean, all you have to do though, Jaws, honestly, is go back to last year though when they went up to Green Bay on Thursday night
and won.
And they beat the Packers, and they ran the ball great that night. And it's kind of what they have to do, Jaws. It's the only chance they have is to really. And Green Bay's weakness is against good running teams. They have struggled. They just have. I mean, go back to playoffs last year with San Francisco, but look to their losses this year, what Tampa Bay did to them. They ran the ball really, really well against them. And, those guys are Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. I mean, Rashawn Gary. They want to rush the passer. That's what they're good at. They play a dime defense, Jaws, 1 linebacker, 6 defensive backs. I mean, you got to make them pay for that. And you can run them out of it if you're successful. But to me, that's the only chance they have on Sunday afternoon is to really run the ball in a variety of ways, including using Carson in the run game a lot more than they have to have a chance against the Packers.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think they will? Well, we've said this a number of times. They run the ball, and they don't.
Here's what I think, Jaws, is I think some teams want to run the ball, but they don't commit to running the ball. Like if you look at the team, like Green Bay's made a firm commitment to running the ball, and it has helped Aaron and everybody else out. They dress 4 tight ends, Jaws. They put a bunch of them on the field. Mercedes Lewis, I mean, he'll catch a pass here and there, but he's a good blocking tight end. They want to run the ball. The Rams, when Jared Goff is good, they run the ball, they commit to it, and they stay with it. I mean, just go around the league, Tampa Bay is much better. Despite what Tom Brady has accomplished, they're much better when they're effectively running the football. And so you go around the league right now, and there's very few teams that can abandon the run and have a very good offense. You just can't be a good team right now in this league without being able to do that.
Baldy, let me go back to the Monday night game and in regards to Carson. I made this comment. I was calling the game for Westwood 1, and after 5 3-and-outs, I said, boy, probably the best thing about tonight's game is there are no fans here because it would have been rough. I have felt the wrath of 70,000 people. I don't think I ever had 5 straight 3-and-outs. It would have been rough at Lincoln Financial Field for Carson and that offense. But, you call that first series, 1st and 5. Well, Doug called the most simple play on the 1st and 5 play.
Stick, Jaws. Stick. I mean, you complete
I can complete that right now. And Rodgers popped wide open. Carson comes off him.
Looking right at him, Jaws.
Looks right. It doesn't.
Maybe he wanted the over.
Yeah.
But he's looking right at Rodgers.
I mean, McNabb started about half his games with that play because I think Andy Reid said, I'm going to give him a quick completion, and it's okay. I love doing that with the quarterback. Get him in the rhythm fast. He doesn't pull the trigger. He looks backside to a crosser from Goddard, who, by the way, is open. He doesn't throw him the ball. He comes back late to Rodgers, is batted down like, come on, man. Everyone that knows anything about football knows you got to throw that stick route. You got to throw that route. Doesn't throw it.
Let me ask you this, Jaws, because this is where we're at with this whole quarterback situation. If you're Doug Peterson, do you just let Carson walk off the field and not address it? Like, why don't you ask him, why did you throw that stick? Like, it's right there for you. It's a first down. You got a fresh set of downs. You got a little, you have something. I mean, you go in the huddle, you're like, hey, we got a first down. All right. Everybody's feeling better about themselves. And 17 seconds later, you're punting. Don't you address it right there? Like, why didn't you pull it?
Yeah, I don't know if he did or didn't, or Press Taylor, or someone comes over there, or one of the plethora of coaches they have coaching the quarterback and offense right now and say, why didn't you throw that? I think Doug probably said, hey, 1st and 5, boy, this is a great chance. I'm going to get my quarterback in a rhythm, Hey, give him, 5-yard pass, move the chains. Oh, okay, he's slumping, he's struggling, but now he's going to feel good. His first pass is complete, first down. And all of a sudden, it's 2nd and 5, it's 3rd and 5, and you punt. And he said 17 seconds, 3 plays, you're back on the bench, and no one says a word. I would love to sit with Carson and go through a game tape and say, what did you see? Because, when I played, that's the first thing my coordinator or quarterback coach would say to me. What did you see? He didn't say why didn't you do this? He'd say, what did I see?
Right, because it's all through your eyes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what they see or what I or you see. It's what they see.
Yeah.
And if they're not seeing it right for whatever reason, then that you got to go back to that. Like, why aren't you seeing what I want you to see? And I think that's a fundamental issue because you see it over and over again. John, they got 3rd and 3. Here comes Alshon Jeffrey over, in motion, and he's running a route to the sticks, and Carson doesn't. He's looking right at him, doesn't throw it.
Doesn't throw it.
I mean, it's a first down throw. I mean, we all saw it. I mean, we saw half a dozen of those in that film.
Well, Zach Ertz will be back this week, I understand. So that maybe he'll throw it. Maybe he's got that was his go-to guy for a long time. Maybe he'll pull the trigger. And but Goddard again, I think is giving him good production. Those are the simplest throws to the tight end. Although there was a misread on the interception. I don't know who. I don't know how they're coached to read that backer inside. Is Goddard supposed to wheel back to the outside? I don't know how they coach it. Some people coach it that way. Some people coach it another way. So I'm not going to say that, but someone read it wrong, either the quarterback or the tight end.
Yeah, but Josh, I mean, this is 3 years of Dallas Goddard and
right.
Carson Wentz. It's 3 years with these guys. I mean, I could see if it was a first-year tight end or somebody called up for the practice squad or something like that, and you misread it. I can understand. I can't understand a veteran group that have run that play, Jaws, in practice, Zoom meetings, in games, and you make that type of a misread in that situation. I just don't understand that right now.
Yeah. My guy Jason Jones, as we were talking about, he never stops working. He's already looking ahead to this matchup. With Devontae Adams, against Slay. Here he goes back to Week 17, 2009. 2019. I'm sorry, I can't read his handwriting. Yeah. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 63 yards, 15.8 per reception. 2018, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 99 yards. So Slay and Devontae Adams have gone against each other a few times already.
Oh, it's a good matchup.
Yeah, it's really good match. Yeah,
it's a good matchup.
Yeah, and and Slay's playing good football. He did not have a good game. We know that. But give him some help when you're in trouble, man. I don't care how confident you are. If a guy is struggling and the matchup doesn't favor you, change it up. Give him something.
Well, the thing about this, I've done a film session with Devontae Adams. He's just a great person, but he's really fun to talk to about really what he sees and how he sees the game. In 2014, Jaws, that was a big draft. Odell Beckham Jr. was in that draft. He was the 8th wide receiver taken, that year, and he ran a blistering 4.58 40. I mean, one of the slowest 40 times for a wide receiver. But his game isn't speed; it's about change of speeds, and it's about it's about his ability to create separation. And I mean, I think it's a better matchup for Slade because he doesn't have to worry about a guy that's 230 that runs a 4.3. I mean, that's not what Devontae's game is. Right. I mean, he is a true. Him, Keenan Allen, there's about 5 of them, Jaws. They are just, the pure science of route running. And the quarterback knows exactly what he is going to get wherever he's at, in the slot, out wide, in motion. And so I think the matchup is a little bit better this week than it was. But you still have to say, look, if this corner is struggling, then you have to adjust during these games.
Yep. All right, I'm going to ask you to put your Swami hat on here and predict what you think will happen at the quarterback position for this Eagle team as they move forward.
Well, Jones, I've been an advocate of sitting Carson because I don't see him. If I thought, Jaws, like Andy Reid used to say about Donovan when he would struggle, would you sit Larry Bird? No. Larry Bird shoots to get hot and he shoots to stay hot. I'm going to let him work his way out of it. And most times Donovan did. And we all know some of those patches he went through as a starter. And I just don't see Carson working his way through this right now. I mean, we've watched it week after week after week now. And so, except for, some late comebacks against Baltimore, Pittsburgh, it's been pretty much the same story most weeks. And so I think it would benefit him. And I'm not talking about like a benching for the rest of the season, but a game. Or at least give Jalen, to go out there for 2 plays makes no sense, Jaws. No. First of all, his one completion
that's a waste of time.
Of 6 yards, Jaws, was the biggest game they had in the first 15 plays. But like any young quarterback, they did it with Donovan. Give him a series. Give him a quarter. Let them see if there's a spark. I mean, you never know how anybody's going to respond to these players.
Till it actually happens. Till it actually happens. Yep.
You can talk about practice. We know what practice is, Jaws. It's important, but it's not the game.
Right.
You never know how any player is going to react and how the team is going to respond until you give them a chance. And going out there and throwing a 5-yard speed route isn't a chance. Like, he needs to find a rhythm. It's only fair. I mean, he was awesome at Oklahoma last year. It's not like this guy hasn't played the position or it's a position switch. I mean, he was the 53rd player taken in this draft. Like, I just think we're at the stage where, man, let's see what Jalen could do.
Eventually, they have to find out, because that will dictate the future of this football team. They have to find out, plain and simple. And normally, I am not for a quarterback change, but this is way beyond a slump right now. It's way beyond a slump. You mentioned two games.
You can see if a guy is off target. He's back doing an injury. We've all seen. Every quarterback has gone through a slump. Aaron Rodgers has been in a slump where you go, man, he doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers anymore. And here he is playing the best football he's ever played. We've seen it. Guys dip. But this is more than a slump, Charles. It just is. Because we're talking about basic, fundamental reads of defenses to go where he needs to go with the ball. And those things are it's critical. I mean, it's a precision game. It's critical that you know where to go with the ball and then have the ability to deliver it. And we've seen it week after week where this team is just, I mean, they're in a malaise through the first half of almost every single game.
Yep. All right, Baldy, as we get to the end of the show, I always put your feet to the fire. Who you like this week? Packers, Eagles?
I saw the Packers. I watched them for an hour and a half last night. Man, I love that offense that Aaron Rodgers is in. I mean, they just have the answers to all the tests, no matter what you want to do. And I saw the frustration of the Bears, who are a good defense. I mean, series after series last week. And I don't think the Eagles, although they have played very well in spurts defensively, I don't think they have enough to stop what Aaron Rodgers is doing. I like the Packers in this game.
Yep. Well, I have to agree with you. I'm sorry to say to our Eagle fans out there, and I certainly am one of them, but, we have to be honest when we make our picks and predictions, and I've got the Green Bay Packers 28, the Philadelphia Eagles 20. So, Baldy, we agree on this one, my friend. And thank you so much for joining me here on the Ron Jaworski Show, and enjoy that beautiful weather down in Fort Lauderdale, Baldy.
I'll hit a golf ball for you, Joe. All right, man.
Down the middle. All right, Baldy. Thank you so much.
All right. You are.
Brian Baldinger, man, always great insight, great information, and yeah, unfortunately, we kind of both feel the same way. This is going to be a tough one for the Eagles, although last year it was a big upset on a Thursday night in Green Bay. Maybe it'll repeat itself. That'll do it for the Ron Jaworski Show. A special thanks to AJ Hawk, Brian Baldinger, and Coffee Jones, my man, hard at work right next to me. I can't call you my right-hand man. You're on my left side, Jason. All right. Thanks, Jason. Good to have you with us, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday on the Ron Jaworski Show.
This is the Ron Jaworski